All right, here at Hooked, the Kayak Anglers Resource podcast, got Lance Burris today and Jake Heppner talking about the Bassmaster Classic. What's up, guys? Lance, how are you, man?
Good.
Yeah. Did you have a good time at the Classic?
Yeah, it's a great time. It's one of my favorite places to go.
Yeah. Jake Heppner, man, how was your time at the Classic?
It was kind of a roller coaster, to be honest. I mean, I turned something nothing into a little bit of something, but it was a weird lake. Definitely a weird lake.
Yeah, we are definitely excited to have you guys both on the pro staff. Second year for both of you guys. Excited that you guys qualified for the Classic. I know you guys.
Championship.
Yeah. You guys, definitely did it the harder way, doing the series and all that. Lance, how many events did you fish last year?
5.
So you made it to all 5 of them, huh?
Yeah.
What did you end up finish? I think you finished like top 10 AOY. Where'd you end up finishing there?
7th.
What's it? I mean, what's the? A lot of people go Bass Nation or something like that through their state, but what's it like competing on that national level for you?
It's pretty awesome because you get to compete against the best guys in the country, and you don't get to do that in a lot of different areas because there's different trails that a few of them fish here, a few of them fish there, but it seems like they all fish the Bass Nation.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of unique because you're testing everything out on different bodies of water all over the country.
What was your best event last year?
Lacrosse. Yeah, finished 3rd out of 150 something, 70. I think.
Yeah,
70.
Like a lot of guys talk about lacrosse and how it's kind of a special spot. Seems like you've been there quite a bit. What's your favorite part about it?
It's a power fisher's paradise. Anything you want to do, if you want a frog, you want a chatterbait, spinnerbait. There is quite a bit of finesse fishing too. If you guys want to go out and basically chase a smallmouth, which I'm not good at, so I don't. So I just go out and wing it and just junk fish.
That's cool, man. Jake, how many events did you get to fish last year?
So I did the hard way. I couldn't make, what was that? Hartwell, the first one? Couldn't make that one, so I didn't do that one. And there was 300 people signed up for Gunnersville, so I skipped that. So I did a total of 3 events, so the bare minimum. So I had to make sure that I didn't absolutely suck in in any of them. So
fishing the 3, where did you end up on the AOY standings and all that?
I think it was 30th. I had a really bad Susquehanna day 2, which really hurt me. I did okay at Possum Kingdom. I was 40th, which, considering that that's not a lake that I enjoy, unfortunately, going back there in 2 weeks. But I was okay with 40th. I did really well at lacrosse. I think I was one position out of the money. So you take Susquehanna out of there, you might actually have a fairly decent AOY finish. That's why I think fishing more than 3 is kind of important, because it gives you that get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Do you think you guys think that they should increase the number of events, or do you think 3's fair? Or
I think 3's fair because there's other trails too. When you make it to where you've got to fish mostly all of them, it makes it hard to compete, except for the guys that just can do it full time. Which it may eventually get to that point where you got different levels, kind of like they do up in the basketball level. But pretty much, I think 3 is good for right now.
Jake?
Yeah, 3 is fine. I think anymore you start, it's expensive. Going to these is not cheap, especially if you're not winning every time. You're looking at a couple thousand throughout the season at minimum, just 150 per event plus Airbnbs and stuff. I just think 3 is like a good median, and I think 5 events is fine. Like I don't think you really need more than that. I wish they would go to some new places. I was a little disappointed this year that they went back to Possum Kingdom so soon. And I know that place puts out big bags, but like the lake is not as fun as it seems, at least for me. So
Yeah, it seems like a lot of guys are excited about, the bass series and trail. It seems like it's gotten a lot of, rapport and all that. As far as like the classic, Lance, when you heard that it was in Oklahoma at Tenkiller, probably felt pretty good or got you excited since it was so close to home.
It was nice that it's close, and I kind of liked it that it was on a lake I've never seen before, just because I can break it down without having to go back and try to fish history. But yeah, it's kind of nice that it will be the closest one this season.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't a bad drive for us. I know Jake, or it was a little further for you. What did you think of Tenkiller overall?
I had high hopes for it in the beginning. Like I was really wanting to fish that river, which we've heard the story of the river. I mean, Drew clearly made the river work, and that was my goal going into it, was to fish the river. The reason I didn't was I was nervous about like pressure, just having like 6-7 people up on the river, and I already knew that a few people from the house were doing it, so I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna do that. So I ended up fishing like the main lake, and like I had high hopes for the lake. Like it was, in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be a little bit more smallmouthy. And I caught a lot of smallmouth, but it seemed more like if you wanted to win, you needed to catch the big largemouth out of the lake. So I don't know. I mean, it's a deep, clear, rocky lake, which can be really tough, especially this time of year. But I think the bite was really good for us on both days. Like the fish were actually cooperating, so it was a beautiful lake. I would be shocked if we go back there though, because it was small. I think that for 165 people, it felt like it felt very crowded.
Especially while they were fishing.
Yep.
So, Monday, Tuesday, it was cooler. It was stupid windy.
Stupid windy. It was like a freaking ocean.
Yeah. But come Wednesday, the weather kind of turned around and it was pretty nice. What do you guys think? Do you think that helped your pre-fishing, or do you think it hurt it? Do you think it made kind of a level playing field for everyone else as well?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to break down the lake evenly, hit every spot, and just kind of see where the most bites came from without being on there. That's just kind of how I usually break a lake down. And I had basically 3 days to do it. I just picked the spot I had the most bites in, so I just went back to there. But I mean, I think the wind, I know it hurt some guys because they didn't go to places that they're planning on going, and I mean, I still fished in it, but I don't know. I don't think it affected me as much as it could have.
Jake, what about you, man?
So I didn't have a great practice, as you probably know, because you filmed some of our stuff, and the wind was definitely not helping me any in what I was trying to fish. I do think that when that wind died off on, what was that, Wednesday, first day, it was actually a benefit to what I was ending up doing, because kind of like with Lance, like I fished a lot. I fished top, bottom, down by the dam. We looked around, and I just went to the spot where I thought that I could get the most bites. Like, unfortunately, 20 other people at our ramp decided to do the same thing, but I think it was the good decision. Unfortunately, day 2 didn't, pan out like I was hoping for, but day 1, like, I think the calmness made what I was doing actually work, because the fish, it was warmer and those fish were a lot more active than they were on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, it was Monday, Tuesday. It was almost miserable out there for some people, especially depending on the kayak you had and all that too. So,
hey, what are you trying to say?
No, I mean, it wasn't miserable for you, but like it was a little sketch for you, but you're in a,
just a little bit.
Just, switching from the Newport to the motor guy, that was probably a little stressful for you, probably had some water in the kayak and all that. But no, I was, it was fun talking to you guys and watching you guys practice. And like, I didn't fish the tournament, but it's always fun seeing what guys are doing and either, just watching these, either I get, affirmation, or I get like, oh crap, I need to be doing this better. But it's really cool seeing you guys out breaking down a lake and fishing on it and all that good stuff. So do you guys end up at the same ramp both days?
Yeah, same ramp, but we fished different places. And actually, he went out of sight, so I really don't know exactly where he went, but he caught some pretty good fish over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lance was like, "All right, I'm going." He takes off in his, fast kayak, and then all of a sudden I see him stop on day one. He's like, "I'm here." He just within sight of the ramp, basically, and I'm like, "Wow." I had a long ride. I had like a 15-minute ride to my spot, and I was fishing an area very similar to that. It was basically like where that channel swing happens, and there's like that flat rock. That kind of gives you like it kind of gives them an area where they can hit some deep water that's not like like super deep, but at the same time like they can move in shallow with the bait. And so that's what I fished pretty much all the morning both days. I wish that spot was more of an afternoon spot too, because once I got into like my actual day two like pattern, it was way more crowded in that cove. So
All right, so I want the juice. I want the good stuff. What was your go-to bait for both days?
Jerkbait. I caught everything on a jerkbait except for about 3 fish came on a little whopper plopper.
Oh wow, throwing some topwater, huh?
Yep, they're just surprised me because I didn't see any fish busting because it's been so windy, and it calmed down, and all of a sudden bass or I didn't know they were bass. They just started busting out in front of me, so I was like, "Choo!" They're out there. And they started smoking it. And I think I caught 3 within like 5 minutes, and I had not used a plopper the entire time I've been there. I just happened to have it still tied on from like last fall, and it's kept in the boat of a spare rod.
Hopefully, I had a decent knot on it still.
Yeah, it was tied to braid, so it's still good. I didn't retire it the whole time I was there either. It's still on there. But yeah, other than that, it was a jerkbait. I was fishing anywhere from about 5 feet of water out to about 15 to 16 feet of water, and I'd alternate between just basically a 110 to 110 plus 1.
That's cool, man. Jake, what about you, man?
Well, this is gonna be boring, but I also was using a jerkbait. I'd say I caught all my fish on day 2 on jerkbait. Day 1 was actually this, which is the little Okashira spark shad. I don't know how well I'll zoom in on that, but I was throwing that behind docks, and I caught all my fish day 1 on the little swim bait. And the reason why I was throwing that over the jerkbait is it was just the bait out at Tenkiller was small for whatever reason. And I was having a hard time throwing that jerkbait behind the docks because I was like weaving in and out of them. So I was using like the little small swim bait and just pitching them in there and like letting it fall through those schools, and they were just smoking it. So it was kind of a risky way to fish. I don't know if people have seen some of the clips I've been posting. Fishing over dock cables can be stressful because those dock cables are like saws, but that was like where I could find like unpressured fish that I know were feeding, and I knew they were of good quality. I think like on day 1, I had my limit by like 9 a.m. I had like 86 inches by 9 a.m. So I don't think I caught a fish after noon that day either. So it was really just like a morning bite on the small swim bait. And then on day 2, it was just nothing but Vision 110. I was using a +1. I was actually using Matt Shad, which, if anyone knows, was what won the Classic too. So it's kind of funny how that works. So
He must have watched you fish. That's why he picked that up.
yeah, he's like, wait, that guy's doing mediocre. I should use that.
That's funny. Yeah, it definitely seemed like a lot of people were throwing a jerkbait or some smaller swim bait based on the recap and the awards and all that.
It seems like a lot of people were fishing like bottom contact stuff to great success as well. I know the guy that was at our ramp that Lance and I talked to, he helped me take my motor up. He was actually throwing shaky heads, which I never would have thought worked, but he caught 90 inches on day 2, so clearly we were missing something. So
what I mean, as far as like practice and whatnot, were you guys targeting specific areas? As far as like, were you guys in the back of pockets? Were you guys on more points, more main lake stuff? Was it mid pockets? What was that, Jake?
I said, what points? That lake doesn't seem to have any
Yeah,
points.
the kind of
I
a
don't know.
point.
I mean, I was kind of just running around everywhere because without having anything to really go off of for the time and the water temp, I was trying to force feed a chatterbait hard. I was trying it everywhere. I was trying it deep, shallow. I mean, and then just it started feeling more like a winter bite. So I just started kind of backing up because they weren't where they were supposed to be, or like I thought they were supposed to be. So I started backing out, just started working my way back towards the main point, my main channel. And the closer I got, the more bites I got. Of course, I didn't have a lot of bites. I never caught a limit each day of practice, so I just went with where I had the most bites. But I found one pocket where I ended up fishing that I caught more bites towards the back and towards the front. So that's why I kind of picked it, because it wasn't just in one spot on the main channel where I had to go run 15 miles to go find what I was looking for.
Yeah. Jake, you said you were fishing a lot of docks. Were they more main lake, or where were they at?
The dock. So there was very specific docks I was looking for, and I ended up, and I'll just give this up because I'm not going to fish it again. I ended up fishing the long cove north of where Lance and I launched. And I know it seems silly to launch where I launched and go all the way up there, but like my primary spot in the morning was like similar to where Lance was fishing, where it was just like, 15 feet, and there's fish in the front and there's fish behind me. But the docks, like I was looking for docks that were near what I would consider like the staging areas, like spawning staging areas where it's deeper, but that they can push bait in and move in shallow. So like I would target those docks that were in these coves that were in the more shallow water, because those coves are super deep. They're like 50, 60 feet deep in the center. But on the edges, you've got like, 10 to even as shallow as 1 foot. So that's really what I was targeting. I mean, in practice, I was looking for windblown banks. I was really hoping to crank. I caught a lot. I think I caught every single fish in practice on a crankbait. I didn't even end up throwing it because I didn't feel confident that you were going to catch a limit on a crankbait, because all the fish I caught on the crankbait and during practice were like microscopic. I caught a limit one day of practice. That was it. I actually even got skunked on one of the days. I think it was, I want to say Monday, I got skunked on the main lake. I did catch some in the river on Monday, but on the main lake, it was just nothing. So
No, it was a good event. I enjoyed going and staying with you guys and fishing with you guys and watching. I didn't get to fish at all, which kind of sucked because but I was joking around with everybody that if I would have went fishing, I probably would have caught like 95, 96 inches, and then I couldn't tell you guys anything. It would have just ate me up, and then you guys would have been mad at me because I couldn't say all that. But it was definitely fun seeing you guys and traveling with you guys. You got a new kayak this year, man. What are you fishing out of?
That's the Bonafide PWR 129. And that was the first event I got to try fishing out of, and it fished awesome. The rough water. I've been in pretty much every Bonafide that they've made, and they've all been stable, but they needed something a little bit bigger, and this one fit. The big water perfect. Handled the extra batteries, extra weight. It's got an extra capacity. It's really not that much bigger, but it fishes a whole lot bigger. And, it did pretty good for this first event.
Jake, what about you, man? What are you fishing out of?
So I've been fishing out of the Crescent Shoal for the last, I guess, 2 seasons. Like this will be like I've had it since right when it launched, so however long that's been. It's a great boat. It handled the chop, and I say handled. It was it's not designed to go on like big lake chop. It's more of like a river kayak that can do lakes. I like it because it's just very nimble. I fish pretty aggressive. If anyone that fishes with me might notice that I constantly just have rods laying flat. Like I don't like them behind me. And the Shoal does a really good job of doing that. It's also a really fast boat if you've got the right motor for it. Like I can usually squeak 5.5 miles per hour out of the Newport NK180. So if I had like, the 300 or the Torpedo 1103, I could probably hit, 6.5, something like that. So I ran an Excite 3 in this tournament though, because in my mind, I was really convinced that if I was going to fish main lake, I was going to need something to keep me in position, because I know how Oklahoma fishes. It fishes very similar to Illinois, and Illinois in March is windy because it's just flat. There's nothing nothing to stop the wind. It's just, relentless. And I knew that I probably would want to stay in position, and that's a little tougher to do without spot lock. It was definitely an adjustment, though. That's for sure. I often wonder if I spent more time messing with the motor during the tournament than I did fishing sometimes. So
Yeah, it seems like guys are dialing in on their kayaks depending on where they're going and different stuff like that. Lance, you run the 1103 currently.
Yes.
Are you gonna switch over to anything different? Are you doing anything?
Well, I have a hunch that I'll be trying out a Newport here really soon, like today maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. We've got a NK300 that we're gonna set up on your boat and see what you think. I've switched over to the Newport this year. I still have the XI3, so I can go either way. Been really impressed with that Newport. What are your what are your concerns going from Torquedo? Maybe not concerns, but what are your thoughts going from Torquedo to Newport that you're looking forward to or concerned about?
biggest thing I'm looking forward to is just if I can get a battery big enough where I don't have to switch it over during the middle of the tournament. That's always kind of a time consumer and just a thought in my head. It just I don't want to have to think about running out of power, and that's always been one thing where I'm either trying to push this one battery before I switch to the next one, or it just dies in the middle of just some strong winds. I've had that happen. I don't want to deal with that. That's kind of why I've been looking towards going towards Newport. Concern difference. I mean, I know they're pretty similar. Controls would be something I want to look at of how similar they're going to be. Just the user friendliness. I'm sure I can make something adapt it and get used to it, but that's going to be probably the biggest thing to get used to. And I know there are some accessories at Torquedo you can get for Torquedos that you don't get with Newport yet because they're newer. But hoping some of them kind of transfer over.
Yeah, for sure. They run off a 36 volt for that 300. But it would be nice to have a bigger battery. I think that Torquedo is like a 35 amp hour battery that comes with, correct?
It's a 31.5 amp battery.
Yeah.
And I carry 2. And 2 will usually do me in a tournament. This last tournament on Taneycomo, I actually burned out both of them, like ran into the ramp at 0%, the second battery. So they're both just totally flat.
Yeah. That's a lot of running you did too. Jake, you're running the NK180 currently. Can you compare it to the 1103 or the NK300 or
So I think the NK180 is more comparable to, what is that, the ultralight, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Is that a 403 or something
Yeah.
like that? But I think it's more comparable to that. You're not going to get like that raw speed like you get from the NK300, but it's light. It's very efficient. To put it in perspective on like the battery aspect, I have a 24 volt, 50 amp hour battery for it. At La Crosse, I didn't charge it. I think we were there 3.5 days of practice, and I fished on the same charge until that last day of practice when I was on the other side of the Mississippi River, and it died. I was just like, wait a second, my battery's dead. So that's how long I got out of this battery. And the only reason it died is because every night I was putting it on the charger, the plug I was using was like defective or something, so it never actually charged. So I ended up paddling across the Mississippi River on day 4 of practice. But it's insanely efficient. Like, I think that's one thing Lance will like about it, because truthfully, like, depending on his battery size, like, you can get, you're gonna get all day out of the Newports, just because like you're gonna be able to get like the bigger batteries. And I don't know what size battery you guys are gonna hook them up with, but I gotta imagine like a 50 would definitely last forever.
They were saying like 200 amp hours, something like that.
200.
You're right.
Yeah, we're gonna build a false bottom into his PWR that's just straight lithium batteries.
I wonder how much that would weigh. It has to be like a 100-pound battery.
Well, we're excited to follow you guys along and see how you guys do for the year, and excited to have you guys on the team. It's been really fun bringing guys like you that are doing the national stuff on and hearing your guys' perspective and pre-fishing and all that stuff. So excited to have you guys on the team. Looking forward to the year and seeing what else you guys do this year, and just want to wish you guys good luck. And we're rooting you guys on here at Eco Fishing Shop.
Cool. Appreciate all the support, especially following us down there. Tenkiller. You don't get that a lot really anywhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice having a shop close enough that if I need something, any kind of, I mean, if I need anything yak attack right away, it's 15 minutes away.
Yeah. Jake, man, appreciate you being part of the team as well, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, honestly. Like, I don't think I would have had nearly the success I had at Tenkiller without, you guys hooking me up with the, helping me get the motor installed, Jonathan fixing my kayak, because, I don't bring anything. Like, everything that I possibly could have needed, I didn't have, but Jonathan had it, so.
Yeah, I think I overpacked for the trip, but I was glad to be with you guys and support and be there. But
he's a mobile yak attack dealer.
It is kind of bad right now. I will admit that. It probably won't be like that all year, but it's pretty bad right now. But no, for sure. Thanks again for coming on, and good luck this year, guys.
Yep. Thanks for having us. I got GoPro issues, and
We do have a good clip of you catching a drum, though, so that'll count.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, what about my crappie?
Bassmaster had a good crappie catch too.
All right, I'm gonna do just a quick intro, and then play the clip, and then we'll jump right into it. You like that intro to intro?
Yeah.